Hello. Thank you, Balza, for the interesting talk at the beginning. And thank you, John, for laying the foundation. So before we start, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Remya Praveen. I'm basically a civil engineer who's passionate about digitalizing the construction industry. I'm very new to the software development field, but even though I don't have a software background, I was pretty interested in this, and I got to learn the basics and various aspects of it during my NUS SGS FinTech program last year. So when I was given an opportunity to assist John in this project, I was pretty much excited. And after a year long of this journey, here we are. So that's pretty much a little glimpse about who I am. Looking forward to learning and contributing. So I'll just jump into this one. So John has spoken about the conceptual side of Backstage and IDP. So I will just give you a technical overview of what Backstage is. So Backstage is built using the microservices architecture, and it uses various programming languages and technologies to provide us with the comprehensive functionalities. So it is the core of the Backstage is built using TypeScript, and it also uses various different programming languages for specific purposes. It integrates with PostgreSQL database to store and manage data, and it has a front end using React, and the back end is being employed using Node.js to handle the server-side operations. And the Backstage has, it supports a plugin-based architecture where the developers are allowed to extend its capabilities by adding more customized features and integrations. So in that way, you can actually tailor Backstage to a more organization-specific, functionalities. And Backstage supports Backstage has a native support for Kubernetes, but it does not restrict us to it. Like in our case, we are deploying it using AWS EC2 instance using Docker. So it does support other providers too. Next is the major elements of Backstage. So first is the software catalog. The catalog is actually built using metadata YAML files, where it actually connects to the any code. It stays along with your repository, any repository. It is just a file, YAML file, which contains the data of your code, so that the Backstage can fetch the data into the Backstage platform. Next is the integration. Even though there is many other integration and external providers that Backstage supports, we are using GitHub because we use our repos in GitHub, but it has other external providers such as Bitbucket, GitLab, etc. So this is the API which is using it, and we have to get an personal access token and integrate it with the Backstage, so that we could Backstage could actually fetch the data from the repo in GitHub. And next is the tech docs. Just now, John was speaking about the documentations, which could be stored alongside your code, so that the maintenance of the documentations is more live, and it is done using this MechDocs library, and it also is using the Markdown language for the documentations. So this is the descriptor file, the major file which Backstage uses for fetching the data of any of your repositories or codes into the Backstage platform. So it has, this is the envelopes. This uses like the API version and kind and the metadata and spec. So API version and kind are the common high-level entities which goes into every catalog info YAML file, whichever you're going to store along with your code. And it always contains this backstage.io prefix, so that Backstage could actually understand that this is a Backstage specific entity. And next is the metadata, where it actually takes up the specifications other than whatever goes into the actual specifics of the entity, like the name, the link, what it has been connected to, which GitHub repo it's been connected, whether the documentations are going to come with this. All these things go into the metadata tab, and then the spec goes into the actual specifications of your entity, like what it is it a type, whether it's a website, a service, a library. And next is the life cycle. Which life cycle is it? It's in production or in development or in testing. So these informations goes into the descriptor file format. So before we start deployment, I think these are the prerequisites which we need, that needs to be downloaded in our system, so that we could be able to install Backstage and then start running. I will just show you around on how the actual Backstage looks to be. So here is the Backstage app. This is how the homepage looks to be. And this is the catalog, software catalog, how it looks to be. So this is like the overview. This comes from the catalog.info file. So when you click on view source, it connects to your GitHub, wherever, so where the code lies, it brings you to the code. And then you can add in the dependencies. Maybe I'll go into internal developer portal. So you will see if there is any dependencies, like if you can add in the resources to it, like what, where is your resources coming from, what are the details into it. And here is where you can add in the documentations. I will show you next. And we have also this, you will be, if there is a CI/CD running in there, then you will know what is the status of it and why was it, if it's failing, why was it failed. And it shows you most of the details that has been shown in the GitHub also. And then we have this APIs. So since it's the local version, we do have the demo files also here in it, otherwise it will not be here. So this is a simple API where it gives you a Swagger UI front end. So you will be able to see the details and try out, like if in case I'm giving SG customer 1 and execute, it will give the details of the SG. So if you just want to try out the APIs, and then is the documentations, which is unfortunately not working in the local system, but I think I will be able to recreate the thing. And how do we actually register any component? This is a template where if you have a particular template and you want to go in and a particular set of code which you wish to make it as a template, then we create that file, and then we put a template.yaml file into it and create this sort of template. So if I am giving it as a demo, and the description meetup demo, and the owner, of course, BC. Okay, operations. Next step. So the owner is Big Tech demo. Okay. 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 1 second. Operations, PC. Okay, I'm going to create it. So hopefully, okay, it has a trouble. Okay, message name already exists.
The unique component, the component you already have a demo component.
Okay. Okay. Okay, repository name demo I already have. Meetup demo. So we have already created a repository. If I open in my demo, I will actually see this one in my so this is the source code which was already there. It also has a catalog info.yaml file, and it also has tech docs, which will not be opening in the local as of now. But otherwise, I think if you go to the home, you will be able to see the demo one, which we just created now. And the GitHub Actions and all these things are the plugins that is being done. So if you want, you can go and create new GitHub Actions along with this. So I will go ahead with the recording, or
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So just explain that the next step
Yeah.
is how you actually build this from the
Okay.
Backstage template.
Yes. So I will just show you on how to actually do this whole thing and install the Backstage from scratch, so that so I will just go create a folder, and I have all my, I'll just check if I have all my installations running. I'll pick you. No, it's not. Okay. No, it isn't. Control plus, is it? Okay. Where?
Yes.
Better?
Yeah.
I have no. Yes, better. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I have my Docker. So let me go and install my. So the installation might take a few minutes. So by the time I will just run through the video, which I already have, so that you might, how do I, okay. So this is where we are checking. I don't think so we can enlarge this one. So when you do this npx backstage create app, it is the React app that is being created. So this process would take around 7 minutes time. So once we are done with that, we go into this, and the app actually opens. So the Backstage app usually, like the standalone app, comes with default SQLite database. But since it's serverless and for lightweight applications, we will be replacing it with the PostgreSQL. So once it opens, afterwards, we will have to replace the database, and then we will be adding in the authentication using GitHub. There are many other providers which Backstage supports for authentication, like the Azure, Auth0 and Okta, etc. In our case, we are using, so this is where we are trying to generate the token for accessing the GitHub APIs. And this is the OAuth app, which I'm using from GitHub to run the authentication in my Backstage application. So this is just updating the callback URL. And once we are done, we are going to actually update our .env file, since we are not going to expose our secrets in that. And also because it's under testing, I'm just upgrading the CSP directive to false. And the authentication part is this. After this, I think we will be updating the source file to put in the authentication, where the front end of the authentication page comes up when you are altering the code in the packages. So we go into the source code and the app.txx. These codes or these alterations are found in the Backstage documentations already. So it is nothing like we are just copying it from it. So whichever plugins or whichever applications we are using, we have to take the code and tweak the actual source files. Then we will be able to see the changes in the thing. So once you will get this sign in page. So the whole process, of course, building up and things takes a bit of time. So from end to end, it takes around like half an hour time. So that's why I thought maybe I'll take a video of it and just trim down the whole stuff and put in. This is the place where we are actually putting in the tech docs. So this is the mecdocs YAML file, which is actually the source of the tech docs. So this is the format of it, like the site name and which navigations we have and all that. And in the root directory, we will have to create a docs folder. And inside the docs folder, we have to create any markdown file like index.md or any name. And whatever comes in there, so before it is run by using a Spotify Docker image, which Spotify has. So before that, we will have to push the whole thing to the GitHub and then run the Docker image. So once the Docker image is run, you can see there is no site directory here. So once after we run this Docker image, there will be a site directory which will be generated. Is it me? Okay. Yeah. So I think once it is being run, is it running? Okay. Yeah, it's running, but it takes time to run the image. So maybe a bit. Yeah, once the image is run, you can see that there is in this part, I will pause the video. In this part, you can see that there is the site folder being generated. It is generated from the tech docs image by Spotify. And this we have to fetch the data into our Backstage entity. We will have to alter the annotations out there in the catalog info.yaml file. Can I check if so once you do it, this is how the documentation would look like. Oh, it's such a, okay. I think this is about the deployment of it. Maybe I'll just check if my thing is run. Okay. So let's check. Yes. So as of now, our Backstage app is already done, and I'm going to give Yandev, so you will be able to see.
What we are going to achieve here, we are running the code.
Yeah.
So I think we need to, because it's the Backstage where it is showing Backstage product, how to use it.
Okay.
So what we want to learn here.
Okay, this is not the Backstage product actually. What we are seeing, we are actually seeing whatever the codes that our organization is having. So it is fetching the codes from, like if you're having a GitHub repo for your organization, you're actually fetching that code into that. So it is just a platform where all the code and repositories are staying in the same place, and you will be actually seeing it. It's just a platform. So it.
It's going to show in the particular platform. All this relevant to our platform engineering, that's what I just want to understand. Being it's a product, how where they bought everything into one picture and show the dashboard. That's what I just want to understand here.
I think because
you mean of Backstage itself, or
no, it is a platform. I'm not denying it.
yeah.
When we are talking about the platform concept, it's okay. But seeing only one product and deploying on application is not, I don't think so. It's right.
Well, okay. Remya's just now demonstrated the installation of the Backstage application itself. And
So what I think that you are able to build an application putting the Backstage. How that relevant to the platform engineering? That's what I just want to understand.
Well, the idea is to make it easy for developers to create a new application that will firstly to find out where all the documentation information about your applications is, and secondly, when they go to create a new application, to ensure that it has all the components. If it's a node application, that it has the modules that connect it to the observability platform, to the security platform, to those other things. So it's helping to template new applications. So for the operations, for the platform engineers, it encourages the developers to develop applications in a certain way, in what the organization regards as best practice, so that the platform engineers can best support that.
You want to look into the Backstage as one of the platforms that where you can learn the concepts and how to implement the platform.
No, it's about internal developer portal, right? So where you bring, like where in one place we can, have different projects, technical documents, templates, so to keep the developers job easy.
Yeah.
So that is something. It's a CNCF product actually, but it's not graduated. I think it's still under incubation.
Yeah.
It's a very recent one. It's not something like I just heard about it maybe 1 month back. Only recently, it's getting popular and organizations are adopting it. So it's just a portal where you have everything in one place, right? You can integrate with your GitHub, with your CAC, all those things, right? Bring everything in one place, and also you can have templates. So if you want to create a new application, so you can use some templates. Your developers can want to use some data templates to speed up the development. So that's why it fits into the platform engineering practice.
So if you tell developers you have to develop a certain way, well, they might remember. But if you provide them the tools and the templates, then that makes it easier for them to start a new application, and they're going to build those best practices into what they do. That's more what it's about.
Can we post video recordings?
Sorry?
Can we post video recordings?
Yes.
In terms of
Training videos like we already did one session.
right.
Yes, and we recorded it instead of repeatedly in the session.
You mean this session? I mean, this session.
Can I invite you?
I guess it's possible, but what I would probably say is you could probably embed that into your markdown file and goes into the tech doc. But then you probably host the video somewhere, whether it's YouTube or Vimeo or whatever video platform you have. So you want to be able to embed a link or an iPhone or something into your page
But I think the Spotify plugin for the skills thing does support videos for or not videos, but the I think it
You
does.
need to create a plugin
Yeah,
to your video platform so that you can ingest that.
I think you can also have the.
I think the skill exchange.
Yes, yeah.
So
It's already doing the same kind of posting numbers. Yeah.
Tech Docs, yeah, MK Docs,
You are
yeah,
using MK Docs and on top of that.
yeah,
Mm.
yes,
Yeah, all right, so let's go with the video part, but that's.
I have a question.
yeah.
If I have multiple projects, and I'd like to group them into one Backstage.
You can
In-
group, there's a team and
Yeah,
what are the levels in the components? I think it's in the further up there.
groups, is it?
In the entities. What are the entities? There's a slide on it.
Yes,
That one.
yeah.
So you can arrange.
For the group. Group and user. So, yeah, so if you see here, of course. Stage demo,
So we don't have any.
yeah,
In this sample, but you could create a hierarchy of your organization.
yeah, we do have, I think the one from the previous one we had. But I would have to run it, I think.
You
Yeah.
want to go to the first slide?
Yes, maybe I think I will pull it into the closing slide. So I think
Yeah. Okay, so so this is been a walkthrough of Backstage. So this has been a walkthrough of Backstage and why you would use it, and then the sorts of things you can model for your technology stack, and then Remy's given an example of how you install it and the sorts of configuration you can use to in the metadata to connect to the different systems of record and sorts. Okay. All right, so thanks very much, Remya, for that demo. I know it's all and I guess that wraps it up for this evening.